In this episode, we are gonna learn about synchronous and asynchronous programming. So, what is synchronous and asynchronous programming? Synchronous programming is a synchronous programming technique that allows the working process to run sequentially. But asynchronous programming is a parallel programming technique that allows working process to run separately or parallelly, right? So that is the main difference between synchronous programming and asynchronous programming. Now let's consider this example here that we have synchronous or asynchronous request, thread pool, and we have two threads, and let's say the threads call the database, right? Let's consider this is a API endpoint here. Okay, so if we get a request from the synchronous request, right, to the thread pool, and thread pool will assign that request to a thread, right? And the thread will eventually call maybe database or maybe another API, right? And that will be waiting, and thread will be waiting for that response from the database in this case, right? So it may take 5 seconds, 10 seconds, right? That means in these 10 seconds, this thread is completely busy. So in the meantime, if we get another request to the thread pool, then thread pool sees we have one more threads available here, right? Then it will assign that request to that thread, and then thread will call the database, right? Okay, and it will wait for the response from the database. In the meantime, if we receive another request, now thread pool sees that there is no threads available, right? So that means thread pool cannot assign this request to any threads. So after some time, it will return response 503, which is service is unavailable, right? So that is the problem in synchronous programming. We can resolve this issue using asynchronous programming. But how so? Well, if we get an asynchronous request, right, to the thread pool, and it will assign that request to a thread, right, and the thread will call the database, but the thread will not wait for the response from the database, right? Instead, this thread will come back to the thread pool, and it will be available for the next request. As soon as the database completes its work, right, then thread pool will assign a thread, same thread or another thread, right, which one is available. It will assign the thread to that process, and then the thread will complete that process and return the response to the request. So as a result, the threads are not blocked by the database, API, or any other services, right? Threads are always available. So as soon as thread will assign the work to the thread, it will then call the next call, right? And it will not wait for that response, right? It will come back to the thread pool. As soon as that returns the response, thread pool will assign one thread from the available threads to that process eventually. Then thread will complete that process and return the response, right? Now you see that it removes that blocker, right? In synchronous programming, thread was blocked by that database because the threads were waiting for the database response. But in asynchronous programming, threads are not waiting for the database response, right? So in asynchronous programming, threads are coming back to the thread pool and waiting for the next request. So this is how we can resolve that issue, right? I hope this makes sense to you. Now let's go to our project and convert that synchronous method to asynchronous method. Okay, we are now in the product controller. So what we need to do, we need to use async keyword, right? Also we need to use await keyword to implement the asynchronous method. Okay, if we use async keyword, we must use task type. Okay, so this is our asynchronous method. Now we need to convert this as asynchronous. So what we can do, first of all, this is gonna be task. We can also rename the method name as asynchronous, right? Let's say get all products async. Okay, then come back to the controller. So that got changed, which is fine. So now let's copy this, come back to the product service. What is the get all? Yeah, this is the one. So this is gonna be task async, right? And then what else? Okay, let's remove this one. So DTU is not null here. Okay, so the problem is it is waiting for a response. Wait, okay, and this is, we'll also need to change this name here. Now we also need to change this repository method. So this is gonna be task, and we can also give it a name, get all products async. Okay, if we change it here, this is coming from repository. So we did change in the repository, a product repository, under product. Okay, come back here, then this is gonna be this method, right? Then we can use await. So we need to use async here, also task. Then it's gonna be to list async. Okay, now go back to here. Okay, now we have to, okay, this is the implementation here. That's good. This is the interface. Okay, come back here, we need to change that method name, get all products async, and we are using await async. Okay, that's good. So it will return the product DTO as a list, right? Okay, which is fine. So now we converted this API method into asynchronous method. So earlier it was a synchronous method. Okay, in C#, if we need to convert a method to asynchronous method, we must need to use async in the method signature. Also we need to use await to the calling function. So that is the format for asynchronous method. Okay, let's build this. And if we now run, so this is the get all products. Alright, so we get the response. So it was an asynchronous method, right? Similarly, we can convert the get product by ID. Okay, we can also give it a name async, right? So this is an asynchronous method. Await. Now let's go to the definition of this. Async, make this task with type, right? Now we need to go to the implementation. This is service get product by ID, this is the one, right? And this is gonna be async task with type and await. So here we can also apply async, rename that method. Okay, so let's go to that definition. So this is gonna be task of product, right? Now let's go to implementation. This is the implementation, async task product, and use the await. So we also need to change that extension method here, which is async method, right? Let's build it. Okay, it is saying not. Oh, okay, we need to change it to asynchronous method. Now let's build it. Okay, still more. Oh, what? This is why there's a title problem. Oh, okay, now we get that here and asynchronous, because this is an asynchronous method. Now we need to use await. Okay, then also need to update this one, get sync, use await, right? Okay, similarly same method we are using here, so we need to use await here, asynchronous method, but we are fixing this one first. Let's work one by one. Okay, now we also need to update the update product. Let's see if this is done. Okay, this is done. So let's go to the product controller on the update product, right? Make it async. Of course, this is gonna be an asynchronous method, and task type await this service, and rename that update product async. Go to implementation. Okay, what is the problem? Task. Okay, so that is done here. What else? So why there's an exception here? So let's go to definition. Oh, okay, you have to use task type. Okay, that's good. Let's build it. Okay, so far so good. Let's fix this one first. These are similar. Async task, also give it a name with async suffix, and here we can also use async, so we can use await. Okay, we did rename the method. Now let's go to the definition first. Okay, that is task, which is very good. Now we need to go to the implementation, right? Okay, it didn't find the implementation, so we have to go to there manually, delete. This is gonna be task only, right? Delete product async. Also make sure to rename it here. Okay, looks like delete is also fine. What it is complaining here, it is saying product GUID did not implement the product GUID. Why is that? So delete product async. Then what about here? Delete product async. Oops, it keeps the previous method. Now it should be good. Let's build it. Okay, now let's go to the add product. So this is gonna be async right, and await, make it also async. First of all, go to the okay, we need to rename this. Okay, let's go to that method. It did rename perfectly. Task. Oops. Okay, now we need to go to the implementation, product service, implementation, add product. Okay, this is gonna be async task add product. So we can also make this asynchronous, but instead we are gonna make this save method asynchronous. So what we can do, we can rename the method first of all to asynchronous and use the await. Go to that method, it's gonna be task. Okay, then that is actually in the repository manager. So this is the save async, and this is gonna be a task type. Then we need to use here async keyword, await, and save changes async. Okay, perfect. Let's build the solution. Succeeded. So we completed the conversion from synchronous method to asynchronous method. Right now our API is an asynchronous API. Okay, we can try few API method. So send, get all the request and get all the products, right? Let's add a product here. So white t-shirt, let's add it. Okay, one more time. There is a separate 2 products here. Okay, let's see. Now we have 4 products, which is fine. Update. So let's update this product price now 7.49. send. Oops, looks like it is throwing exception because the product GUID is not existed. So let's find out the product, one of them. Let's say I want to update for this one. Okay, send the request. Okay, there was an issue. So we are getting an exception here, internal server error. Second operation was started on this context before a previous operation completed. Okay, let's go to there. So this is our update product. Let's put a breakpoint, send the request. Okay, let's step into step over. So we got the product, updating here, save async. Oops, it was suggesting something here if you notice. Okay, and it will throw exception here because we're supposed to save the changes, right, before calling the get method, right? That means we made the changes here, the operation, the previous operation, and we did not use the await, right? So that's why it was throwing that exception. So we have to use the await here to save the changes. Once that is done, then it will go to the next step, which is here, asynchronously. Okay, so that means once the await is here, right, and it calls this method, and thread will not wait here, it will go back to the thread pool. Once this operation is done, then thread pool will assign another thread to this method to continue the operation. So that means then it will start from here, from the next statement. Okay, now we fix that. Now let's run it again. Send the request. Okay, take this off now. Yep, successfully done, right? So we are able to get all the products, get by product ID. Hopefully, yep, okay, this product is not available. So what we can do, let's grab a product ID from here. Okay, update is okay, add product was working, delete product, right? So let's delete that product. Oops, so it is done, successfully completed. Now if we have the 4 products here. If we send it, okay, it didn't delete it, right? Why? Let's send it again. Looks like it is okay again. So something is wrong, right? Let's investigate the delete method. Okay, so delete is here. Let's go to implementation. We got that product, delete here. Okay, we did not use await here. That is the problem. Save changes. Now run the project, hit send. It was now deleted. If we try it again, we should see an error. And if we call the all products, if you see, now we have 3 products only, one of them is gone, right? So looks like all the API methods are working as expected, right? So we have now multiple products. Okay, so we are able to successfully convert the synchronous methods into asynchronous method. I hope this was a helpful video for you. If you have any question about asynchronous method and synchronous method, right, let me know through comment box. In the next episode, I will show you how to create a paging, right? So that in the using the paging, we can get like limited rows, like limited products, and we can also specify that limit, how many products we want to get in the first page, second page, something like that. Okay, I hope you are enjoying the videos. Guys, please, if you like this tutorial and learn something from here, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot to me. Thank you. See you in the next episode.